Probably the biggest client that anyone can hope to get, it was Apple. Europe pays about a fifth of what Americans pay. And when you say being there, the place that I got to walk by every single day was the Steve Jobs Theater.
I cannot understand that Logic and Final Cut are from the same company, to be honest.
As a foreigner, I find it so difficult to add a check. I decided to go back to Brazil, to my hometown. The prices of real estate is about the fourth of what it is in Prague. I will be able to live in a top floor apartment on like the 20th floor somewhere and pay 3.5 million crowns for an apartment of 156 square meters.
Yeah. Hey, this is our first podcast in this new studio. This is my friend, Felipe Bez, and he's a workflow expert.
Yes.
What does it mean exactly?
It shouldn't be complicated, but it is a little bit. A workflow architect should know everything that happens in the whole pipeline of post-production. Mm-hmm. Actually, not only post-production, pre-production, production, and post-production. That's what's going to make a workflow architect, a workflow expert, a workflow designer very valuable. And not only understand how everything is done, what everything that needs to happen, but that workflow architect needs to be able to do those things, understand the technical part of that, and be in touch with the latest advances in technology, because things are changing every day. When my clients come to me and ask me to design a workflow for them, for example, I can tell them, if you ask me today how to do what you're trying to do, I will have an answer. If you ask me 3 months from now, 6 months from now, probably something will have changed. Probably something will be a little bit better.
Yeah.
So the workflow architect needs to be on top of those things. And that's what I tried the most doing. And that's how I do a lot of my work in post-production.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. We met at one job, I remember, that I was editing for an American company named Coach Life. And you
right,
were
that's how we met.
Yeah,
Actually, I couldn't remember.
You were the workflow expert there.
Yes.
So we were just talking, and you told me that you live in Prague, so we met first time.
Yeah, and I really didn't remember that.
The common topic of ourselves was Final Cut. Mm-hmm. So you are also Final Cut editor.
Yes.
So that's great. That's why Philip is here, basically.
Since 2011 with Final Cut 10 and now 12, right?
So you were using the Final Cut X from the beginning?
I was. Actually, I had probably a slightly bigger advantage over people that were already doing professional work, because I started working on Final Cut 5. So I did 5, 6, and 7. And then I stopped for a few years. And I stopped for at least 2 years, 2 or 3 years. I was not involved with post-production because at that time I was moving to Czech Republic. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of establishing my life a little bit. And when Final Cut 10 came out, for me, it made so much sense. I was like, we are dealing with digital files. We don't need tapes anymore, or at least I wouldn't need tape anymore. So that whole paradigm of everything being digital made a lot of sense for me. So I just jumped in as soon as it was out, and I still remember, like if it would be yesterday.
Okay, and as a Final Cut editor and workflow expert, namely in Final Cut, you could land some big clients.
Yeah.
What were your biggest clients?
I think some of my biggest clients, maybe I can say one of them, which is the one I'm most proud of. And when I tell people, it's like probably the biggest client that anyone can hope to get, it was Apple.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a long road to get there, but I was able to work with Apple, for Apple, at Apple. and really liked the work there.
Okay, that's really, I think, dream of every editor is to work with Apple. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And they pay a lot of attention to detail.
Yeah.
So everything.
We will get back to these questions later because this is really interesting, and I hope that you can answer at least some.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah. And beside editing, what else are you doing?
Well, that is actually a very complicated question, more complicated than the workflow architect. It's almost like, what am I not doing? Because I have, here in Czech Republic, I am active in 3 different ways as a freelance with what we call živnostenský list. I have a post-production company called Creative Beast, and I have a cloud storage company called Nový Cloud. And so those are the things that I'm most involved with. I also have a company in Brazil that is basically the same as Creative Beast, but operating in Brazil. And I try to be active in the technology and the post-production world as much as I can. And very soon, I will also be involved with my wife's business as well. So, which is going to be very varied. It's like, but I don't like being idle. I don't like being just sitting and not doing anything.
Okay.
So
you are doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's getting bigger and bigger.
I hope so. It's slow. I should probably work more on marketing and sales, but I have been relying a lot on word to mouth, like people recommending. Yep. You don't get as much business this way, but you get the right business sometimes, and sometimes it's really hard. But for example, right now, on the post-production side, I'm working on 2 documentaries. I am the lead assistant editor on both documentaries. None of them are very full-time. Right now, there is one that asks for something, and then you do 2, 3, 4 hours, and then the other one. So it's possible to do that. I could still fit a 3rd one on top of that. But all of them have come through word of mouth. And one of these documentaries is actually very, very interesting because the editor of that documentary edited the documentary that won an Oscar.
Okay.
And it's about, you probably have heard of this documentary, Navalny. Yeah, so I'm working with the editor of Navalny. And
that's cool.
Yeah, and it's very exciting because she really gets very interesting projects.
Yeah.
And it's being edited on Final Cut.
That's good. I have a question. How is that possible to do it, being assistant editor remotely?
First, since the pandemic, it has become a lot more possible because the problem is not the technology. It's possible to do everything remotely, but in the post-production side. But people didn't trust before in doing that. They felt like they should be all in the same room and stuff like that. But a lot of editors started preferring to not have someone over their shoulder looking at every single click that they're doing, trying to frame forward, frame back, cut here and cut there. So the pandemic was, for me personally, very interesting, at least on the work side, because I could only get, at that point in time, 2020, I could only get stuff in Czech Republic. And at that time, only in Final Cut, because I had no interest at all in Premiere, DaVinci, and Avid. Nowadays, I work on all 4 of them. But at that time, I didn't. And because of the pandemic, people were still making documentaries. They still needed to deliver. And at that point in time, that's how kind of the world opened the doors. And if you were anywhere in the world and had good contacts, you could get the job of assistant editor. So I got one for HBO, and it was a documentary series. I was the only one outside of the United States, and we made it work. It was 10 assistant editors, 9 editors for a 6-part documentary series. And that thing was massive. I don't remember the number, 17 1,000 hours of footage. It was massive, crazy. And at that time, there were not the same tools that we have nowadays, but possible. So yeah, how it's possible, cloud storage, the right applications for the workflows, the right organization, knowing how everything works, and it's possible.
Yeah, yeah. That's amazing because it's unimaginable for me to do such a big projects remotely. That's just amazing that it's even possible to do it.
Yeah, and things evolved so much. I mean, when we talk about Final Cut, for example, we have PostLab. And PostLab works in a very interesting way. It does not store libraries in PostLab. It stores events only. PostLab creates the library itself instead of Final Cut creating the library. So, and also it knows which library is open in which computer, which user. So you're able to have, for example, 5 events in common between all libraries, and one of the libraries opens 2 of them, the other one opens the other 2, another one opens 1, and each one of them working on events that will affect each other's. So that didn't exist 5 years ago.
Yeah,
existed a version of that, but it didn't have event locking like we have today. Things evolve. So that's the thing is so exciting.
Yeah.
Have you done any collaborative work before like this?
Yeah, we were also using PostLab, so I know a little bit about it. But mainly I'm doing just a single man job. So, or if I share some editing, I will just have separated library for that and send it back and forth. Because in the scope which I'm doing, it doesn't make sense to have such a complex workflow.
Right.
But if I would do something more complex, I would definitely call you to help me with that.
I would say that even like as a single user, PostLab has a very interesting functionality, which is keep track of changes, backup. Because sometimes things like, hey, we go from Final Cut 11.2 to Final Cut 12, it's a major upgrade, and it does updates on the libraries. Imagine if you just open a library and it corrupts.
Yeah.
Something weird happened, and you're like, oh God, I should go back to the previous version. With PostLab, it's super easy. You say restore, boom, and then the previous version is back to being the current one. Even in the projects that I do myself, my personal ones, my YouTube, I still use PostLab. I'm a big fan. I've been using it since it got public.
Yeah. Speaking of Final Cut, why do you like to edit in Final Cut? Why don't you prefer any other software? Because you used every software there is.
Yeah.
Why Final Cut? And I remember that when we talk about it, you were very excited about Final Cut as me, which isn't so common. So how is that possible? Why?
Yeah, it's a small club, right, of people that really enjoy it. Well, the reason why I use Final Cut first comes from the thought, well, it's from Apple. I'm working on an Apple computer. So using a software from Apple probably will have the best performance, a good support, and so on and so forth. Second, when you actually use Final Cut, it's so out of the way. I don't like, as an editor, to be worrying about the technical aspect of the editing. Hey, moving things from one track to another, managing 4, 5, 6 different tracks of videos, 20 tracks of audio because I have effects and music and a bunch of dialogues. I don't like to be doing the technical part. I just want to tell the story. I just want to say, is this cutting well? Is this having a good pace? And Final Cut gets out of your way. And it's so visual. I mean, a lot of people use Final Cut without showing the thumbnails in the timeline, and just like a pancake. I don't like it like that. If it would be to work like that, I would be going to Premiere or DaVinci or any others, because that's how it looks. actually, they have been copying Final Cut, right? They
Yeah,
used to
yeah,
look like
yeah,
that,
yeah,
and now they look
yeah.
more like Final Cut, more and more like
Yeah.
Final Cut. For example, in DaVinci, if there is a gap in between two clips in the same track, you can click the gap and hit delete, and then it all closes. I just saw that the other day. I was like,
Where
interesting.
did it come from? Yeah.
Interesting. And it takes care of all of, if there is absolutely nothing in any tracks, it really closes the gap. So there are a lot of things that Final Cut was really ahead. And I like that. I like that. Now I work on other applications when I need to. Like, for example, I really like DaVinci. Has great tools for an assistant editor. Great tools from media management side. And then in the end, if you're working on film, you need to get your cut out of Final Cut, out of Premiere, out of Avid, and you need to send that to sound and to color. And to color will be most of the time DaVinci.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to know DaVinci. It's a good application. I like it. But then Avid and Premiere, different beasts.
Yeah. I haven't used Avid yet, so
You're
cannot
not missing
compare.
anything.
I used Premiere and DaVinci, and I didn't like it.
You're not missing anything. Honestly, there used to be a time that I was not using the Avid. I've been using now for the past year and a half. And I remember a lot of editors saying, Avid, industry standard, it really works, etc. But it's like, it really works for the editor because there's 15 people in the back end making sure that things are still working, that they are fixing problems in the back. It has so many problems that happen. And for Avid to work properly, you need to take care of so much stuff that it's not worth. If you're just an editor by yourself, it's unlikely you're going to use Avid because there are so many steps to do before you start editing. And with DaVinci, Premiere, and Final Cut, you're like, drag media in, drag media to timeline, and then you start.
Yeah. That's why I'm using it, because the ease of use, the speed of making the edits, you are not thinking about the software, you are just editing, and that's why I love it.
And you edit on the road as well, right? You go to CES and you go to all these events.
Yeah.
I've tried to do what you did, and I cannot do it. I cannot do it because I get so excited with what's happening around. It's so difficult for me to sit on the computer and edit.
I'm not there alone, so I'm there with Honza. So he's doing the side of being excited, talking with the people, and I'm only shooting and editing. So that's my job there. So that's why I can do it. So, and he's also driving. So whenever we are driving, I'm usually editing.
I remember someone telling me a story, and I think that was you, of going to an event like that with another editor that was on Windows, and the battery was ending all the time.
Yeah.
And you kept on just editing and editing on battery. How did that turn out?
That when you have Mac, you basically can edit all day long without charging, and you put it when you go to sleep, you just charge it. And the colleague who was there, he was using Windows, and he was always looking for some plugs where he can sit and edit. So yeah, that's.
Did he change to Macs?
I think because it's on this kind of job, it's not possible just to work like that. You cannot edit in the car. You just have to always look for the plugs, which you can sit there, but sometimes you are waiting in line to some conference. So what you are doing, you just take your laptop and edit. So if you are if you need a plug, then you just cannot.
Yeah.
And we are talking only positively about the Final Cut.
We can talk about the bad stuff too.
Let's say what is there something what you really miss, or what you maybe even hate on the on working on Final Cut?
Well, first of all, I would say we're talking about Final Cut, I think, 2 or 3 weeks after there was a major update. So right now, the positive feeling is still kind of high, right? We got a nice update, but and they introduced a subscription model.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't hate any part of it. I think the engineers there are doing a great job with the application. I know that they spend a lot of time doing quality assurance to make sure that we're not going to get bugs when we add it. But obviously, bugs will happen. It's software made by people. People are imperfect, so the software will be imperfect, right? What I'm hoping is that they will turn around bug fixes quicker.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope with the subscription to see a bug fix update every 15 to 30 days. So something that is not changing features every 15 days or every 30 days would be ideal. I think we kind of got accustomed to that with the phone applications and so on. They now, with the subscription, are also introducing content like motion templates and stuff like that. My hope is that they add more things. Now, the part that I kind of, not necessarily hate, but I'm disappointed is when they implement something just halfway. They're like, oh, that's such a great direction. You're almost there. And if they would be the first ones doing that, fine. Then we give feedback and then you say, see, you can go this extra step to make it better. But when the competition has already done 2 steps forward than that, then you're a little bit disappointed. For example, on the current version, it does transcription, right? But only in English. And you're like, come on, guys. You are a global company. You are worth, I think, $3 trillion and more. And you know that you have users on so many different countries, but you're still so bad at languages.
Yeah.
Where DaVinci is not, Avid of all applications is not. Avid they can transcribe in a bunch of languages, including Czech. So it is a little bit disappointing that is only in English. But it doesn't stop there. Okay, where are the transcripts? Can you read them? Because that's a transcript. You should be able to see it written. No, you can't. You can't. You should know what they said, and then you search for it. So that sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks. And because, for example, on DaVinci, you can read the transcript.
You can even do the editing.
Yeah. And honestly, there are so many applications that already transcribe, like Mac Whisper. Transcribe, and not only using Whisper, but using Parakeet from NVIDIA, which is super fast. It supports speakers and multiple languages. So that is kind of disappointing. And I wish, and me and a bunch of other people already sent feedback to them, like, let us read the transcript. Like the same way that you have notes field, maybe a transcript field. And then we click the triangle and we can see the transcript. Should be easy enough.
Yeah.
I mean, there is an application called Builder NLE. It transcribes and then sends the transcription to Final Cut as notes. And then you can search and you can read it. That's great. The visual search, kind of the same. You can only search in English, for terms in English. I think some people have had mixed results with using different languages for the search. Great idea, halfway there. The speech to captions, only in English. Again, multiple languages, where is it? It could be 2 titles. Make us be able to convert titles to captions to titles. There are third-party developers that are doing that, but honestly, do we want a whole industry to put the pressure on one developer to come up with that, or with the company that has $3 trillion in the bank and they are the owners of the software and then now charging subscription.
Yeah. And it, especially the captions, it's just editing the XML file. That's it.
Yeah, if you go into a chat GPT, put the XML there and say, hey, there are captions here, turn them into titles. Here is another XML that has titles. Just put the text in those, and then you can do it.
Yeah.
Not too difficult, right?
There is a lot of stuff or functions like this. Today I just had a lecture for Final Cut. So I was using the beat detector, which when you zoom out your timeline, it crashes every time. It's like, it just crashes every time. So I had to restart the Final Cut like 5 times until I stayed zoomed.
Oh, there is a great tip when Final Cut is crashing, mainly after an update. Delete preferences.
Okay.
If you do Command Option and click to open and delete preferences, somehow those things, they get corrupted. And then when you delete a lot of bugs go away with that.
I will try.
I love beat detection.
It's great.
I love it. Love it. I had forgotten about it. I'm a musician and it's easy for me to cut a song, but you have to listen and move things. That thing made it so clear to see where the sections are, and you can cut. And most of the time you don't even need fades. It just goes through the song. Yeah. Wow.
And the great thing is that you can just make the song shorter, like just cut and it stick together, or longer when you copy the segments.
Yeah.
Or even when you are editing, so you are trying to edit into the rhythm, but not exactly, because then it's too rhythmical.
Yeah.
So you can just see where the edits should be, and it's so fast. So this is actually something what I imagine that Apple should do when they do something new, even though there is the bug with the zooming out, which I use all over time. But it's still something so well done that it's really good.
Yeah, and it works really well with all types of music, like even classical music. Yeah, maybe you're doing some classical piece but you need to be a little bit shorter and stuff like that. Oh man, I really love it. I really like it.
It even can change the tempo. When the song has different tempo, it can like adjust it accordingly.
Yeah, you can see it going for example 3x4 to 4x4 to 5x4, 6x8. It understands everything, even within the same song.
Yeah.
And actually, Steve Martin and Mark Spencer, they have a great 40-minute video that they explore the new features, and they show that with the beat detector that understands really well.
Because of the Creator Studio, I finally get to use Logic, because I made a lot of music when I was younger. I was using Cubase, but right now I'm trying Logic, and there is so many good stuff. I have to say it, but I cannot understand that Logic and Final Cut are from the same company, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think is because of historical reasons. The way Apple acquired the team of Logic, I think to this day, it's kind of the original team. And you can see that they actually do bug fixes faster than the team from Final Cut. Now, there is one feature in Logic that I love it, and I use it for video, which is the stem splitter. And the stem splitter, the other day I had one of the documentaries I'm on, we were dealing with a lot of archival videos from Germany from the 60s and the 70s. And they wanted, and a lot of these archival videos, they have some background music. Some of them have people talking on top of it, like a voiceover. And one of the things the editor was like, Felipe, can you remove the voiceover from this? I'm like, maybe, I think, I'll try.
Yeah.
And I just threw the video there on Logic, stem splitter, exported the stems, just say, don't go with the voice. And it worked.
Yeah.
She loved it. And when this goes to the audio guy in Pro Tools, we probably will send the original one and our stems. Because then they decide if they can do a better job or if maybe they end up using it. And in the past, I've seen audio people in Pro Tools saying, we're going to go with the Final Cut version of the audio. Like with voice isolation, I was in the US when it came out, doing a job there. And we started using voice isolation, and the guys from audio, they were like, holy moly. And they were like, it would take me a little while for me to accomplish this clean. And we were just like, I just clicked this button and done.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I can imagine that the stem splitter can be implemented in Final Cut. I don't say easily because I don't know how complex it is, but it's something that I really can see it there.
It should be there.
Yeah.
I think it should be there. We have roles, we have sub roles. It should be there.
Speaking of voice isolation, do you know Clear by Supertone?
I don't.
So you need to check it out because that's a Korean company which is doing voice clearing, and it works like 1 times better than voice isolation. And you can even decide if you want to keep the reverb, or you can add the reverb or the ambient. So it's really good. It's really cool. It's very stable. It's not expensive. It's like $40, I think, one-time payment.
One time.
So
I'm gonna buy today.
Whenever I'm using, first of all, I'm using the voice isolation, and when it doesn't work, usually when there is a reverb, it doesn't work so well. So I get into that Clear plugin, or it's in the audio effects, and it works just amazing.
So it works as a plugin inside Final Cut.
Yeah, it's in the effects of audio, so you can just add it. I think they build it specifically for Final Cut.
And you're not having any crash problems?
No. And I've been using it for, hour-long podcasts, and the output was really clear.
Because that's all, another pain point of Final Cut is audio plugins.
Yeah.
A lot of developers have that complaint. A lot of users have that complaint. Is like, because Final Cut is not able to cache audio. A lot of times it needs real-time processing, and if it skips a beat, it crashes.
Yeah.
And we've tried. Isotope was a very famous one. Isotope RX, whatever. It would crash when you're trying to do adjustments. And then over time, we were like, oh, this plugin is working better. And then another one comes along and you work the other one.
Yeah, I also tried Isotope for clipping, which didn't work in the Final Cut at all. But yeah.
I think I said a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I said a lot of them for the most current ones. There are stuff that's older, such as media management. I would say that Final Cut has a very good media management engine workflow, but it can be better. So, for example, I'll tell you very specific things that I personally requested to Apple, and honestly, they implemented and not many months later, which was first to be able to create H.264 proxies inside Final Cut. They went and implemented. This was during the pandemic. Because during the pandemic, you don't want to be creating ProRes proxies.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, we are now on better computers and so on and so forth, but we're still behind the internet. The internet is kind of slow to be passing along that much data. Secondly, they implemented was that dialogue of if you copy an event from one library to another, it asks you, hey, do you want to copy original, optimized, proxy, or without media? And the without media option is very powerful when you're doing collaborative workflow between people.
Yeah.
Those were two things that got implemented, but then they forgot about it and they never really implemented anything after that. For example, hey, nowadays these M-series computers, they are as good with ProRes as they are with H.264 and HEVC. And HEVC even more stable, right? So, for example, all my proxies, one of the documentaries that we're doing, all proxies, they are full resolution and HEVC.
Yeah.
So the editor is working on full resolution. She can judge focus really well. She has 6K proxies. She has 4K proxies, and everything is fitting in less than 4 terabytes.
Okay,
So she has
that's
a
cool.
4 terabytes SSD. She's working with everything HEVC, but I didn't create on Final Cut. I created on DaVinci.
Yeah, because we cannot do that there.
It should be possible to create on Final Cut, but Final Cut doesn't make it easy for us.
Yeah. Well, like batch exporting the timeline files or clips or what I'm telling every client which I'm doing the lectures with, to turn off the background renders.
Yes.
And to turn off the optimized media for multicams.
Yes, absolutely.
Because this is something what is in 2026 we
needed.
just don't need it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people calls me, my library has like, I don't know, 500 gigabytes because of trying multicams.
I would say that there is one more setting to change also. It's like these 3 things, the 2 that you said and one more, and the import section, leave files in place.
Of course.
Because then leave your library very slim.
Yeah.
And then one step forward than that was like, hey, set your cache for the library outside of the library. Anywhere. Fast. Anywhere fast. Set your cache outside there. So your library will always be as little as it can be. Of course, in a movie, in a documentary, the library gets super big.
Yeah.
Some people get libraries bigger than 10 gigabytes without media inside.
Okay, so that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy big. I think that we covered a lot about Final Cut.
Yeah. I can always talk so much.
Yeah. Me the same. Basically, we'll ask question about Final Cut. The Creator Studio subscriptions. What do you think about Apple making it subscriptions, and you still can buy it? Do you believe that the functions would be the same in the future as they say? I mean the core functions. Of course, there will be probably some AI content or server-based computing. Of course, they would need the subscription for it. But what do you think about it?
I think that first of all, they are trying to avoid the mistake they made from Final Cut 7 to Final Cut 10, which was to, hey, get everything that you know, throw it away, here's the new thing. So they're not doing that, which everyone has purchased Final Cut. They're happy about, hey, we continue to receive updates. According to Apple, the updates will continue being full-featured. We'll only not have the special content, right? Which is motion template stuff. So far, okay for me. Good for Apple and for a lot of people like students that now they have a cheap option to go and they don't need to buy the whole application. For example, we have an associate editor on the documentary. She's doing just a few tasks, putting together some timelines and stuff. She doesn't own Final Cut, but now she can just pay very small amount of money for the subscription because she's not going to be in the whole project the whole time.
Yeah.
So she has that option. So I think it's interesting and probably nice for some people that there is the option. Hey, do you prefer to buy it? You can. Hey, do you prefer subscription? You can. Is it different?
Not
the
yet.
Icon.
Yeah.
the icon of Final Cut is the only thing that's kind of really different. So for now, I don't have any negative feelings about it because it's not affecting the fact that I purchased. But I'll tell you, I subscribed.
Of course I did.
And I'll tell you why. I purchased Final Cut so many years ago. And I know that in every big company, small teams are always having to fight. yes, people are using our stuff. And I can imagine the Final Cut team trying to tell their superiors at Apple, please don't kill this, because people really are working. And I think the way that we can tell Apple that we are working is with our pockets, right? But it was a one-time purchase, so we couldn't be like rebuying Final Cut. There's no point, and there is no way either. So the subscription kind of tells them, I support you. I would like you guys to keep doing what you're doing.
Yep.
So I subscribed. I already owned Compressor, Logic, Final Cut, the iWork stuff, Pages, Keynote, and Numbers as well. I also, the only thing that I didn't own was Pixelmator. I had Photomator and a few others. So I gained an extra one that I'm not kind of using. I'll try to start using.
It's a good app.
Yeah. I miss having an iPad, honestly. I don't have an iPad at the moment. Okay. And my hands are
you will need to
itching
get one.
so much to get one.
Yeah, I also subscribe, and I didn't have Logic, so right now I can use Logic, which I like for trying, just looking how it works, because I used Cubase, and I really appreciated that they did it, because I hope that it brings better future for Final Cut, or in general for the creative team or the creative apps, which I think it's core, and the price is really. This is the cheapest subscription I'm paying in general.
Of almost anything, right?
Yeah.
I can say what I hope. I have zero information about this, obviously. It's just a hope. They have Apple One. We don't have Apple One in Czech Republic, which is something that makes me so upset. But my account now is in Brazil. And in Brazil, there is Apple One. The only thing that's not included is Apple News. I would hope that they would have a tier of Apple One that includes the Creative Studio.
Yeah.
And that, I think that would be really nice. Maybe add half the price of what they're charging now. I'm really hoping. I made this. I sent this feedback to Apple just this week, because I got a survey from them for Apple One. And they asked, what would you change? And I said, I would love if, first of all, you would update the storage tiers. Storage has become cheaper in general. You should
Not
be
now.
able to... Yeah, I mean, forget the AI, the SSD and RAM part. But generally, storage over the years got cheaper. So they should be able to update those. But bigger than that, every country in the world is choosing to store data locally in their country, because there is crazy stuff happening in the world, and these companies, they have to follow the laws of where they are at. Apple being in the United States, Amazon being in the United States, Dropbox, Microsoft, they are all having to comply with rules from a madman right now.
Yep.
And that's scary for a lot of people that have their data, their personal data, their business data with them.
Yep.
So I wish Apple would say, hey, we offer iCloud services. You choose where you want to store it. Do you want to store it in Amazon S3? Okay. You want to store it on your Google? It's fine. Do you want to store it in a different service? Great. If they would do that, you would be able to choose a storage service that is located in your country. You would have better connection, probably. You would have better rates and so on. I think that could be super transformative and would make Apple become part of the data sovereignty movement that's happening in Europe, for example.
Yeah. That would be nice. I could imagine that, but
it's never going to happen. But,
that's I wanted to say
one
that.
can always hope, right?
It will happen. And now let's get to the job you did, the most interesting one, at least for our listeners. You were editing for Apple.
Yeah.
and what was exactly what you were doing?
Well,
if you can say.
The word exactly is
roughly.
Probably, let's say roughly. So I was able to do a couple of jobs at Apple that they were both months long. I think altogether I probably spent 9 months there. And those jobs were related to video. One of them was post-production, the other one was broadcast. And the post-production one was super fun. There were, I think, dozens of people working together. Amazing people. Honestly, I think one thing that Apple is really good at is, I was going to say casting, actually recruiting, choosing the right people to work. People were a delight. People from Apple and contractors, they were all so cool. It really is, in a lot of ways, what people would hope it could be. In one of these jobs, we were working with content that would only be seen weeks later. So you were looking at stuff that no one else knows about it. And inside of you, you're so excited. You cannot tell anyone. And you cannot even tell the person that's on the next booth that's editing something else.
Okay.
So it's cool. It's cool. It was a great time. In another one of these jobs, which is the one that's a little bit more public, it's the one that's on my LinkedIn, I was working in the broadcast team. I was involved with the broadcast for the iPhone 14 event, the one that had the first Apple Watch Ultra. And first of all, not first of all, because this is kind of in the middle already. When I saw the broadcast preparation, that preparation for the first time was a few days before it went live, and I saw the Apple Watch Ultra, and I was like, oh God, I don't do exercise, but I really want that.
Yeah.
And I'm looking, it's going to cost this much. Yeah, I think I'll do it. And on the day of the event that we are watching with everyone in the world, I was just waiting. I think it only got available a few days later on a Friday or something, but on the minute I was there and I ordered and received it. It was so exciting. But the broadcast team there at Apple is like some of the smartest people in broadcast that I have ever met. There were engineers. Everyone was an engineer, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. And they were so nice, so welcoming. I got so well welcomed in that team. I really miss them. I really miss being there. And when you say being there, the place that I got to walk by every single day was the Steve Jobs Theater. And because you are in the campus, you can walk around the campus too, at the spaceship. So Steve Jobs Theater, and of course, everything that you see in the videos is so true. You get into that place and you keep on looking around and you're like, this is kind of surreal that there are no columns. And it's just raised and sustained by glass walls. But those glass walls, you look at it and you're like, one of these panels is probably more expensive than my apartment.
Yeah. And as far as I know, I think the panels are made by Czech or German company.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Because that's some technology which just only they can do.
Did you ever get the history behind the spaceship campus, how they built, how they did all the all of that?
Yeah, I've seen all the drone footages.
Yeah, and one of the things that they mentioned, because when you go to the visitor center, right? I think, I don't know if they always have, but if you go there doing an event, they're gonna have the architects that worked on it say something about it. But there is something very cool. It's a circular building, right? And they're in California. California has earthquakes. So that building is on top of. It's difficult to explain, and it's difficult to for me to remember. But if you would imagine like a plate, a ball, and a plate, that is a kind of a mechanism that is under the building, a bunch of them, that in case it has an earthquake, the building kind of just floats and nothing happens. Because a lot of glass, right? You'd imagine that an earthquake can be pretty damaging there. But if I can say just one more thing, it's like I loved being the campus because it felt so inspiring. It's almost like you dream of being there, and then you're there, like, wow, I am here. And the way you would imagine, the way you see in some TV shows, people working at Google, Microsoft, stuff like that, I felt that way when I was there. They take such a good care of the vegetation around. When you go to, they have a huge canteen, and that canteen, seriously, it has like probably 4 floors in height, and it has trees inside. And there is a huge glass door that opens every day. It takes like 12 minutes for it to completely open. And then you have this inside to outside area that, man, the architects that did that, amazing. Yeah. Amazing.
I've seen it several times, but I have never been inside. I was only in the visitor center. So
I hope they will invite you to go there, maybe at WWDC.
Yeah, hopefully.
You guys have to try getting there because it's fantastic. And they have very good food.
Okay.
Like I think they have more or less like 4 different corners, and each corner is a different type of food, like Asian, and they have like some Mexican and stuff, and every day the menu changes. Mm-hmm. Oh God.
Okay, that sounds good.
And not super expensive because Apple subsidizes part of the price. So if I remember correctly, you pay $5 for lunch or something.
Oh, that's really good.
Cheaper than lunch here in Czech Republic.
Yeah. Maybe when, I don't know if the Creative Summit will be.
Last thing I heard is like that is half canceled at the moment.
Okay.
So
okay, that was my ticket there.
Yeah. We are always hoping, right? For me, I used to go to the United States 4 or 5 times a year, but with this current government there, I feel scared of going there. You just went there, right?
Yeah. Since this thing what is happening there, I've been there 3 times, and I basically didn't see any change.
Oh, that's good.
Like, maybe it was good times when we came.
Even at the border when they're...
It was the easiest border control
nice.
which I ever get. So the last time.
Okay, that's kind of hopeful.
So it seems more radical on the social media than it really is, at least in California.
Mm-hmm. There is also the part of California is a different state.
Yeah,
I mean, it's very...
So I just didn't feel anything what you could see in the news or social media. So that's kind of positive. And until they change it, it's like you don't see anything.
Okay, that's good. So then if the Creative Summit happens this year, maybe I could go there. Maybe I'll see you there.
Yeah, well, hopefully. And how is it? How is it possible that you got a job like that? What does it take? Because let's say I would like to be hired by Apple one day. What should I do?
Networking.
Yeah,
going to the Creative Summit. If you go to the Creative Summit, you meet the guys, you meet the engineers, you meet the marketing team, you meet people that are working in other areas of Apple. So the last Creative Summit that I've been, there were people from education, from within Apple. There were people from marketing. There were people from the creative apps. There are people from a lot of different areas, and some of them are there to recruit. Some of there are just to understand what's going around the world in this area. But most of all, I think networking is that type of thing that you just be yourself and then you don't ask for anything. You try a little bit to let them know what it is that you do and be present. There is a say back in my home country that we say, if you're not seen, you're not remembered. So if you kind of disappear, people kind of forget about you. And I will say that there were probably two things that I did that were very important for me to be able to get in this area. Was one, networking, going to these events. I've been going to these events since 2014, I would say. And second is YouTube.
Okay.
Put yourself out there.
Okay.
Because there are people watching, and if you get known, if you do good stuff, I think eventually people will know about it.
So I should start an English YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, if you want Apple to hire you, I think in English would be a little bit easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will think about it.
and that's actually the thing that I struggle the most. Is like, if I do something in English, I'm reaching out potentially the whole world, right?
Yeah.
If I do something in Portuguese, I'm kind of focusing only on my home country and a few other countries that speak Portuguese as well, but mostly my home country, which is not bad, but it doesn't help me to be noticed by people in the United States, where is my focus of work. So I'm always struggling with the thing with the language. And if I try to do, let me do this. I'm gonna do a YouTube channel about Final Cut or post-production, and I will do in both languages. I will record a video in English and a video in Portuguese. Soon you're gonna give up on that because it's literally too much.
Yeah. Last question about Apple, which I don't know how much you can answer, but did they pay you well?
Yes, they paid me well. They pay at least industry standard. Industry standard as in California industry standard. So it might be more than New York and other states in the United States. Definitely more than Europe.
Yeah, of course.
Europe pays about a fifth of what Americans pay. So what an assistant editor, for example, in a movie earns in the United States per day is more or less what an assistant editor earns here for half a week to 4 days. So it's very different. Very, very different.
Big difference, yeah.
I wish it's like Europeans are very lean. And probably there is less money than it's in the United States for these things. But I mean, when we are working as an assistant editor, you're working with your own gear. You're paying your internet, you're paying your office area, you're paying your computer, last generation computer, you're paying for storage. And all of that is really expensive. And if it's really hard, I would say that's really hard with European projects. The amount that they pay, you end up having to be on a project one after the other, otherwise you can't pay your bills.
Yeah, I know that. I know
it's sad, right?
yeah. And now some last questions, personal questions. You live in Prague.
Yes.
For a few years.
Almost 20.
20 years.
Yes.
Okay, I thought it wasn't so long.
Yeah, I moved here in 2007. So it's almost 20 years. It's been 19 years.
Okay.
And yeah, I left my country because I didn't feel part of it. I never felt like culture-wise I fit there. I was thinking a different way than locals. And what I was interested in doing, I couldn't see jobs for that there, not in my home country. I'm from the capital. So I was like, let's try life outside.
How old were you?
19.
19. Okay, so this is big change. It was kind of risk, or did you feel like that?
Not risk, because if you don't have nothing to lose,
Yeah. Okay.
you're not risking much.
Yeah.
Maximum you're risking is to spend a few months abroad and then you come back home. So my plan was I saved money for what would be enough for 3 months. And my plan was I have 3 months to find it first, discover where I want to live, because I bought an Eurail ticket. So I arrived in Portugal, went to France, Germany, Czech Republic. And then after that, I was going to go through the Eastern Europe, Romania, Bulgaria, and Hungary. And the idea was, see if one of these places look nice. But then when I arrived in Prague, I met a girl. And then we started dating, and she's like, hey, do you want to spend Christmas with my family? And I said, okay. And then I end up staying, looking for a job, and everything started working out kind of.
Okay. And how is it to find a job in that field which you are doing right now in Czech?
I wouldn't know exactly, because I have a professional split in my life. I've done 2 things in my life in parallel, because I probably am crazy. I cannot stay still. So I always was in love with technology. So since I was 14, I was assembling computers, fixing people's computers and stuff like that. And the other part is photography and eventually filmmaking. I kept doing both of them in parallel. I worked at McKinsey, I worked at Accenture, I worked with broadcast. I traveled the world for Accenture doing huge broadcasts at the World Economic Forum, like 4 years in a row there. Love Davos, love skiing there. But I never needed to work in the film industry in Czech Republic. When I started really getting to the film industry, I went straight on to United States. Mm-hmm. So here in Czech Republic, I don't know. I know one thing: as a foreigner, I find it so difficult to edit Czech, because Portuguese, French, Spanish, English, you can cut a word from the middle of a sentence. You can cut a section of the sentence and still make sense. As soon as you do that with Czech, all the other words don't make sense. Yeah. And then you're like, oh God. I remember once I edited a wedding video in Czech, and who made the speech was my ex-girlfriend. And I was like, I want to remove, this speech was 14 minutes. It needed to be 3 minutes. I'm like, what can I remove? Oh man, that was like, I remember that during that edit, I said, I will not edit Czech again. Okay. Too difficult.
I understand. Yeah.
Now, how do you do that? Seriously, because in Portuguese and in English, you can do a surgical move and you're like, remove a word.
You just need to connect the sentences. I think that you cannot change the sentence
in the middle
much, because it doesn't make sense there. But you can find a few sentences which are like, which can be connected to each other, and then you can make it shorter. So you can make the exact time you need, but you can work around that.
So I think because of Czech language, the presenter needs to be better presented than every other language. Because in the other languages, they can rely on the editor. Yeah. But I think here, like, the presenter needs to do a really good job.
Yeah, it's hard to edit when someone is not speaking fluently and so on. It's really hard. Yeah, that's true. And you are not staying here. You are moving away.
Yeah.
Where are you moving?
Yeah, after spending half of my life, literally, I came here with 19. I'm now 39. I decided to go back to Brazil, to my hometown. And the reason for that is, well, the world changes and I'm getting old. I have some money saved. I would like to buy an apartment, but apartments in Prague are it's out of reality, the prices in Prague. I live in a nice apartment. I would like to buy an apartment as nice as the one as I live in, but it's just not possible.
Yeah.
The apartment that I live in costs 18 million crowns. Honestly, with 40 years old, a bank doesn't give me anymore 30 years of mortgage.
Yeah.
And also, I would need to put down payment of all the money that I have to make a debt of 30 years. Now, I'll look at the camera and I'll say, here's the thing. I'm Brazilian. I came to Czech Republic. I was super welcomed here. I love Czech people. And I'll tell you this. Brazilians are really welcoming too. If you come to Brazil, we're going to welcome you. The language is much easier than Czech. And the prices of real estate is about a fourth of what it is in Prague. So that's the reason I will be able to live in a top floor apartment on like the 20th floor somewhere and pay 3.5 million crowns for an apartment of 156 square meters.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the logical reason. Then there is the more personal reason. For 20 years, I've been a foreigner. Even if I speak fluently Czech, I will still be an outsider. And I think I'm getting old. I want to live a little bit on the other side now. On the native side.
Yeah.
I miss drinking coconut water. In my hometown, it's so easy for you to get that. Barbecue in the street, a little bit warmer weather. So I kind of miss that. It has bad things, obviously, but it's not as bad as you would think or as I would remember from back when I was younger. In 20 years, the country has improved a lot. I would invite people to check it out. Come for a visit. If you're Czech and you come to the capital, feel free to leave a comment and let's hang out. I'll try to show you some Brazilian beer. It's not going to be as good as Czech beer, but we have caipirinha. And we have some other stuff that's going to be really amazing.
Okay.
And you should come, of course.
I would like to. Every winter, we are with my wife, we are thinking where we can go to feel some warmer weather because I really hate the cold here. So that might be the
Tickets
place.
to Brazil are kind of expensive. That's the downside. But living there, the life there is cheap. So it kind of balances out. But you can find a return ticket for about 22,000 crowns.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can tell you, most Czechs that go to Brazil, they are like, shit, I should move here.
Yeah, okay. So maybe we will try it one day. Maybe we will meet there. Thank you for being my first guest here.
Thank you for inviting me.
It was my first interview in English. I hope that my questions were good enough for you.
Oh, absolutely. I really enjoyed having this conversation. It's always nice to talk about Final Cut and Apple, and a little bit about life in general. I love it.
Yeah. So, thank you for being here. Wish you good luck moving, and I hope that we can see each other in the future.
Oh, for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.